work. It's portable on PCs, but it's still a while away because you need the actual bandwidth of the transmission. I think any company would find a website just a lot more effective than video conferencing.
They would be used for somewhat different purposes, would they not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have a question from Mexico, from the Instituto Politécnico Nacional in Zacatenco. Welcome. Your question, please.
Yes, I would like to ask both speakers, what is your opinion of the Victor Real factory model used by when, and what are its advantages and disadvantages?
Do you understand that?
I'm not familiar with that particular company or with that particular configuration. I'm not sure what the caller is referring to.
Okay, I'm sorry we don't have a better response on that. Perhaps we can pick it up later. We have a question now from, is this from Columbus, this question? New Mexico, excuse me, we have a question from New Mexico. Welcome to our teleconference. Your question, please.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. And good morning to Dr. Miguel Cárdenas and his whole staff. My question is, what percentage of the general population in Latin America has access to the Internet?
An excellent question. I'm not sure we have an excellent response. Do you have any sense of proportions?
I was at a conference several months ago, and I met people from Mexico who told me that there were numerous ISPs, Internet Service Providers, in Mexico, and that it was booming and growing, like in the U.S. I think in the U.S., the ISP is going from the small local firm to the large corporations. So I think anywhere globally, they should look at the international carriers to be ISPs. I guess if that's what the question is, like an MCI or an AT&T, they're more likely going to offer those services in different parts of the world.
We may be a little spoiled in California. I have heard that something like 30% of the Internet users in the world are in California. So we may be a little ahead of the curve compared to anyone, but it certainly is happening rapidly everywhere, including Mexico, though specific percentages are hard to come by.
Yeah, I think when we talked earlier, Dr. Saba mentioned about the profit motive, and I think that major telecommunications corporations are realizing that the Internet is here to stay. And so we're going to see the rapid proliferation of Internet service providers on a global scale very, very quickly.
Yes, in fact, America Online just hired one of the leading television executives, Brandon Tartikoff, to create their new entertainment, which is obviously an investment of high significance in terms of the future of the Internet. We have a question from Acapulco, the Instituto Tecnológico de Acapulco. Welcome. Your question, please.
Okay, my name is Eduardo Galicia, and we're here in Acapulco. My question is the following. In Mexico, we just started with Internet technology. Another concept that has gained a lot of strength is the Internet. However, Internet is a medium that everybody could access. What should we do to adopt Intranet to be useful for a particular company?
Okay.
Excellent question. The differentiation is that the Internet is open to the public. Intranets are private networks. And companies today are going to be using this technology, whether it's branch offices or suppliers, to give them their own level of access. This is usually handled by having a logon and a password. So typically, most corporate websites are going to have an intranet access and an intranet access.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question from Lima, Peru, the Universidad Nacional de Ingeniería. Welcome. Your question.
Thank you very much. We have two questions. One has to do with the quantity and another one to the quality of services. The first one is there any idea of the number of volumes of business transactions that take place via Internet? And the second one is, how could you assess the quality of the information services that Internet gives us? Are we thinking about any kind of controls that would warranty the quality of the service?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to answer the first one and let Dr. Saba answer the second one. Right now, the Internet is so new and is so explosive that companies and organizations are starting to realize, how do we quantify the information coming across? There are under development several applications which allow you to measure traffic coming across your website. There's a product called Web Trends, which shows you who has come to your website, what pages they've gone to. And this is in its second generation, but again, this information is now being recorded. So any estimate, I think, would be that solely.
Okay, the other question?
Well, thank you for referring the second question to me. Most other media, such as print, newspapers, magazines, books, went through an editorial process before they reached the user. The Internet does not have that editorial process, and so therefore whatever you see, you have to develop critical analysis procedures to make sure that you read everything very critically, judge about the quality of the page that you see, and there are a lot of advice coming through the Internet, either via email or web chats. So you really have to be very, very critical about the type of information that you're getting through the Internet. There is no editorial process, and it's pretty much your judgment about the quality of that information.
We have a question from the state of Hidalgo, Universidad Tecnológica de Tula-Tepeji. Welcome. Your question, please.
Thank you. Good morning. First of all, I would like to congratulate the speakers and the whole ITC staff. Our question is the following. What is the cost of establishing a web system, and who should we go to, or who should be the contact to be able to establish a web system here at the university?
Okay. I'd like to make it clear, hopefully from the presentation, that having a website is a two-part component. First, you have your website, which is the publishing and the development of the content, and then you have the web hosting. I think anywhere throughout the world, building a website, as long as you have a PC and the products that I mentioned, is very affordable and easy to do. This next step would be to get the hosting. And the hosting in the U.S. typically ranges anywhere from $100 to $200 per month to have your website hosted on what we call a high-end server, which would be redundant and fault-tolerant.
And who would one go to at a university? What part of the university handles these things?
This, again, is where we have this merging of technologies. You may look at the communications department of a university, the business school of a university, or the information processing part of the university. You'll find different levels of expertise. And as I mentioned, that's why I think it's very, very important that web technology is coordinated and has leadership.
Good. We have a question from Cuautitlan, from UNAM. Welcome. Your question, please.
The technological advances such as Java, how far ago have they started implementing this, and how are they letting them be known? Disculpe, ¿puede repetir la segunda parte de la pregunta?
Java is fairly new. It has been around for a few months, literally speaking, and so we are learning how to adopt it and how to use it. So it hasn't been around for a long period of time. I think that in the next 2 or 3 years you will see a lot of Java applications.
Java.
Yeah, and I would say that it's right now more form than function. I think the real appeal is that Java brings another element to the Internet, again, to allow global interconnectivity to the Internet. That's what Java is going to bring, another open standard.
Okay. We have a question now from Porto Alegre, Servicio Nacional de Aprendizaje Comercial. Welcome. Your question, please, from Brazil.
Good afternoon. In countries such as Brazil, electronic connectivity is larger for video and bi-directional transmissions. What criteria should we adopt to select the equipments that we use for the so-called room conferences? And what are the main manufacturers of this equipment? Thank you.
All right, equipment uses.
As far as the end user equipment is concerned, Compression Lab Incorporated was the largest manufacturer and provider of room conferencing equipment. Recently, CLI, or Compression Lab Incorporated, was taken over by VTEL, and so therefore, depending on representation in Brazil, I would look either into CLI or VTEL for a good provider of end-user technology. As far as telecommunications technology is concerned, you really have to look into ISDN. That would be the best kind of telecommunication system to have for a room conferencing system.
We have a question from Zacatenco, Instituto Politécnico Nacional, the Center for Computing and Telecommunications. Welcome. Your question, please.
Yes, good morning. Our question is the following. With Microsoft sale, we are having antivirus problems with the web pages. What type of antivirus are you using?
Excellent question.
Yeah.
The one that I found, there's several. I think if you've used PCs well, Norton is one. The one that I like the best is called PC Virus from a company called McAfee. And the main reason that I liked it more than Norton, which I did have, is that I did get a virus. Norton didn't detect the virus. So McAfee seems to be the company today that has more of the up-and-coming viruses on their software and lets you go to their website to then download new upgrades.
Okay, we have a question from our friends in the Dominican Republic, the Universidad del Caribe in Santo Domingo. Welcome. Your question, please.
What are the design schemes that could be used to manage a network that would connect several areas, such as in the Caribbean, several islands? And how would you select the links via cable, via satellite, via microwaves, for example, to host a program such as the one at ITC?
Okay.
That's not a very easy question to answer. It really depends on what telecommunication technologies you have available at your local site. You have to either go to the telecommunication department in your organization or to a telephone company or a cable company and basically sit down and design your system. Sometimes you have to start with a basic microwave transmission from your site and then go up on the satellite and then downlink it to a telephone company microwave, and then they will transmit the signal to your end user local site. It's basically a matter of design, and frankly you just have to sit down with your local telecommunication provider and design that system for your application.
And the head coach of our team here, Dr. Cardenas, I'm sure would be happy to explain the details of how this system works. We have a question now from close to home in Tijuana, from Secati. Welcome. Your question, please.
Yes, we're calling from Secati 191 in Secati. Our question is, what would be the consequences of not preserving the information system that we used once there is a newer and more sophisticated system that is ready to operate in an organization?
I cannot perceive any consequences. I think with today's technology, you're going to constantly find newer and more powerful processors and newer and more powerful software applications. What it does in total is that it allows easier to use, easier to manage applications. So I don't really see a consequence. I think any organization needs at least one key person who is constantly looking at new technology and how does it apply to our organization or to our business. I think this is going to be one of the keys of the year 2000. As Dr. Saba mentioned, training is going to be key and support is going to be key. I might add that putting in new technology and just having it there and not training and supporting your staff does not make sense. It'll fail.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your challenging questions. We hope that our discussion this morning has enabled you to better understand and plan for successful implementation of exciting information technologies. Thank you, Dr. Farhad Saba and Mr. Michael Mahone. We are grateful for your willingness to share your important expertise with us. We will continue transmitting programs on the latest in management system techniques and global competitiveness. We invite all of you viewing to participate on April 10th in our next video conference entitled Health as a Strategic Resource for Enhanced Productivity, Effective Management of Quality Care. All of those participants who are interested in obtaining the certificate of participation for this series, please contact your site coordinators who will inform you about the requirements. For additional information on the International Training Center's programs for this year, please consult your participants manual. Also, if you're interested in participating in training programs, which will be offered by the International Training Center, such as those on ISO 14000 and International Business and Telecommunications, please contact the Center by letter, phone, or fax. On behalf of all of us here who collaborate with the International Training Center, I thank you for your participation and interest in today's program. Thank you, and see you soon.